Okay, I am back to show some more Photoshop action. So I'm going to open a file from my Google Drive. And unfortunately, Photoshop is not saving our preferences when we exit out of it and get back into it. I have talked to the yearbook lady about, we're going to talk to their technical guru and see if there's a way we can get our preferences to save. One of the preferences I like is that I can zoom with my scroll wheel. I always set that on Photoshop. I can set it, but then once I log out and log back in, it's gone. Same thing with our actions. If you look over here, when you're fixing pictures for the yearbook, I'm going to do a whole bunch at once because it would seem that they do not stay. And the next tool I'm going to show you is the lasso tool. And you can use the lasso tool or the magnetic lasso tool if you're doing a cutout background picture. So I'm actually going to zoom out from Addison a little bit. I struggle with the magnetic lasso because, oh, ouch, my network seems to be slow. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting myself. You guys are used to that. Because I never can get my path to finish when I want it to. If you're using just the lasso tool, hopefully when I click down here off the page, never mind, it's not going to do it. Okay, if you don't like what your lasso did, you can just click on your select tool and get off of it. And that's why I don't like the magnetic lasso, because I can't do that. So let's say that here I have Addison Mayfield. If you're on any tool except for the text tool right here, you can hold down your shift key and you'll get your drag tool, your hand tool. So I'm going to click on the lasso tool again, and I'm going to try to get the ball in there too. And I'll show you what to do, maybe if you don't get a very good job. So basically I'm just going around kind of the outside of her, and I might try the magnetic lasso after I have her cut out. So when I join my line here, now I have what they call dancing ants. If you see these little things, that means that's an active selection. So now I can do Control C to copy. Now I'm going to do Control N for a new document. Oh, maybe not. Maybe that's a new tab in Google. So maybe I'm going to do File New. Okay, learn something new every day. So I'm going to do File New, and it should show up with the size that I need for her picture. What I want to change is I do not want my background to be white. I want my background to be transparent. So I am going to change that, and I'm going to create a new document, and now I'm going to Control V, and I have Addison. So now I need to clean that up, because obviously this wouldn't be a very good cutout background picture in the yearbook. And so I can go back and get some more of that ball by just copying that part that I missed here. So I'm using Control Plus and Control Minus to zoom in and out, which is never a bad idea. So I can go over here and get on my elliptical tool. I'm going to click off so I don't have any of that. And I'm going to go to my elliptical marquee, and I'm going to get that ball because I did a really bad job of copying it. So I'm going to Control C or copy it. Now I'm going to go back over to my new document that was Addison, and I'm going to Control V it. Now that, where'd it go? Should be on a new layer. Okay, apparently my Control V didn't work. Let's try that again. There's my Control V. Okay, so now it should be the same size, and I should be able to line that ball right over where it was. Now I can do a couple different things. I can use my eraser, which is over here. And up here you see you can change the size of your eraser, and you can change the hardness of your eraser. So depending on how good you are at things. Now you'll see I'm only erasing on that second layer that I made of the volleyball. I'm going to try to line it up right over where it was. And when I'm on my move tool, every time you pick a different tool, you get a different set of directions up here. So I'm going to go to Show Transform Control, so I have that box around that so I can see where it is. And now I'm using my arrow keys to try to get that exactly on top of there. I'm on video right now, Malachi, but do you have a question that you'd like to ask me that you don't care if everybody hears?
No.
Okay. So I can erase around there, but you'll notice it's not erasing around everything, because part of what I'm trying to erase from is on the other layer. I'm only erasing on the layer that's selected on my layers palette. So these little things over here are called palettes. And when they're sitting over there and they're not moving, they're called docked palettes. Any palette that's docked, I can make a floating palette, which means that it's out here floating in space. Now, again, because of the way this whole Photoshop deal is working, I think it's going to end up resetting our workspace every time. I can scooch them in there if I want more room. So now this is called a floating palette. So now if I go to layer 1, now when I start erasing, I'm erasing on that back layer. And I can go over this ball here, and that is not going to erase because that's a different layer. So the whole concept of layers is super cool once you start to get it. So I could go around and erase all of that. Another thing I could do is go to my lasso tool, and I can use my magnetic lasso, and I can select some stuff. So if I select all of that, and then I get my dancing ants, now I can hit backspace. Well, maybe I need a delete key because that should have deleted everything in there and it didn't do it. Am I on the wrong layer? Yeah, I was on the wrong layer. Okay, so that apparently is on layer 2. So now I'm going to use my magnetic lasso again. And what the magnetic part is doing is it is finding natural boundaries. So like if I want to do all of this here, I might be able to do this. Now it went into my ball a little bit there where I didn't want to. Oh, here's where I fight with the magnetic lasso because now I have stuff gone crazy everywhere. And then again, if you want to just deselect all of that, you can go back to your marquee tool and deselect or unselect a whole bunch of it. And again, I'm not sure I'm on the right layer right now because I'm not sure what's on which layer. So apparently some of that stuff is on layer 2. So, and I didn't magnetic it on layer 2. So as you can see, cutout backgrounds can take quite a bit of time. Now this whole chunk, I should be able to do it once, except I didn't go around it very well. Oh, and I'm on the wrong layer again. Darn it. Okay. So yeah, I fight with my cursor on the magnetic lasso because as you can see, you have to end it where you start it. And sometimes I have a really hard time finding that spot. So I have a tendency to get off of there as soon as I can so I can do some other stuff. So once I'm all around Addison, and it might work a little better when I'm down here around. Now, if I want to get rid of something or add something, I should be able to hold down in this selection. So once I get kind of my selection going, if I hold down Alt, yeah, maybe not. Maybe that's only, okay. That's not going to work here too. I'm supposed to be able to hold down some of these buttons and add some and get rid of some. I added a little bit by holding down Shift there. I'm going to go ahead and backspace and delete some of that. But that's kind of the gist of how you do a cutout background using the lasso tool. And so now you've also learned about your eraser tool. And a lot, also you've learned that up here, when I click on different tools, I get different menus up here. I do like to have clicked on that Show Transform Tools when I'm on my Move tool because it's going to show you, it's going to put the little corners around. You can also rotate. Now this is going to be funky, but if I needed to rotate her head for some reason, now I could rotate her head. If I wanted to make her head bigger or smaller, a really important tool to remember is to hold down Shift when you do that. Otherwise, I'm going to make her look really funky. Now, before I can do anything else, I need to click my Move tool again and apply, or I can choose not apply. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to redock this over here by setting it over here. I'm going to distort her just so you guys can see what that looks like. So you can make yourself look tall and skinny. You can make yourself look short and fat. And I hope that you guys will use these Photoshop tools that I teach you for all kinds of things, not just mass media stuff. So I applied that. Now in Photoshop, it's going to be a little bit different than InDesign. In InDesign, you can go backwards as many steps as you want to by doing Control Z. Sorry. In Photoshop, you have to hold down that Alt also. Otherwise, you can only go back one. Ooh, maybe it isn't letting me go back anymore. Again, this is a new, okay, maybe I'm going to have to do it that way. This is a different version of InDesign or Photoshop and InDesign. Actually, we've been using an older version in the computer lab, so there might be a few things that are different that I am not going to be great on. I can move my selection tool when I have that. So that's a way you can get rid of big chunks at a time. And I'm using my Chromebook mouse. I don't have an actual mouse plugged into my Chromebook right now, which also is a challenge. So you probably want to get a wireless mouse, or I'll grab some wired mouses to keep in the library. But it's not easy to use, just a little touchpad. So that is a little bit more about Photoshop. So we've reviewed the move and the marquee tools, and we've learned a little bit about the lasso, magnetic lasso, and the eraser tool.